you have a really interesting answer as well. What is your name? What do you think of when you think of yourself?
So like everybody calls me Timo, and I like the name Timo, especially moving to the States because my full name is Timothy, and I know here it's like short for Tim. And I don't want to be a Tim. I never identify myself as a Tim because that's a name on itself. So that's why I'm like force people to like call me Timo. I don't want to go by the name Tim. And also my mom named me after Timothy Dalton, which was in the mid 80s when I was born, the James Bond figure of mainstream Hollywood media. And it's funny because I get this question very often, also like in a school settlement, like when you try to get to know each other, and the name question pops up. I'm like very straightforward. I'm named after Timothy Dalton, like a Hollywood actor from the 80s, and like everybody's got like amazing stories about how their name means like enlightenment, hope, like all religiously based names, and then I'm there with my crazy Hollywood story. So although sometimes I feel sad that like, although I know that like Timothy is like the hope for son or God of son. I don't know exactly what it means.
It's honor God.
Honor God. There you go. There you go. So I know it's got like a big biblical meaning as well, but still I know that I'm not like God enlightenment, but I'm like James Bond, Timothy Dalton. So that's like pretty badass. I like my mom. She's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. And I know the only reason I know what Timothy means is because of my name.
There you go. That's something else we got in common.
Yes. What is your name? What do you think of when you think of yourself?
So my first name is Yongjin. So it's a Chinese name, and Yong means brave, and Jin means going forward. So
really,
so my parents gave me that name, and I think they meant that like I will be brave and I can keep going or something. It's it's a well wish for me, I guess. So that's what it is. For a while, I didn't like it for like many years because I felt like it was a little bit too. I mean, it's not like artistic or literary enough. Because in Chinese family, they can give their children different names, and many of them took names from poems or all the other things.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Then they took that inspiration, but my parents gave my name just very, very straightforward meanings like this. But then now I like it. I mean, I think that, whatever it is, I mean, it shows that my parents had this love and hope for me, and they did whatever they could think of to give me this name, and that's a treasure. I want to
unbelievable.
Have that.
Excuse me. So there are no, let's say, cultural equivalents. I'm going to pause for 1 second here. Okay, so that's a good question. No one has picked this question so far. What has been your strangest experience?
Yeah, it's a story. I mean, I would say it is my scariest.
You know what? Can we stop for a second? Before we go further, I am utterly fascinated by the story of your name, and I don't think I spent enough time asking that question first.
Okay.
Because I always thought that there would be an equivalent to like Bobby and Tommy and Michael and James,
right?
And traditional names in Western culture. A lot of people are named like in Ireland. You usually, my mother was born, they were named after the saint of the day you were born on.
Oh, I see.
Or as a family tradition, you were named after someone in your family.
I see.
Your story is fascinating. Before we go on to the strangest experience, could you just elucidate a little bit more on what that's like? Are there Western equivalents, Chinese equivalents to Western names? Or
no?
There's nothing. Every name is individual.
Every name is individual. Parents can pick whatever words that they like to give that to their children, it's there's no equivalent of Mike and Tom, in China.
It's not like a traditional name.
No, yeah. So basically, you can pick whatever words or character you like. Like for girls, maybe more like some flower or some beauty or something. The word. I mean, like a lot of girls I think have the word beauty in their names.
Do they?
Yeah, because that's
I
like
did not know that.
yeah, or other things like and then the boys may have a little bit more words means like strength or
So it's a cultural significance in the name.
yeah there are meanings. So you look at their names and you see the meanings of that. My brother's name is Xin Yu, and it means new universe.
Really?
Yeah, because at that time it's it's China, right? I mean, like the Communist Party took over China in '49, and the Chinese people were like very excited about the future, so they say, "Oh, I have a son now. I want to call him like new universe because everything will be new." So. I know.
You're opening my eyes. This is fascinating. It's utterly fascinating. I didn't know this. It's the cultural differences. It's just that's what makes people interesting.
Right. So if the next time you meet a Chinese person, just ask him or her what's the meaning of the story of their names. That's
fascinating. I will do that actually.
Avery.
Yes.
When I chose that name, and I love that name,
Yes.
It's funny because I've been hearing, a few things. People are like, well, that's a male's name. Well, that's a female's name and all this stuff. And I'm like, actually, I'm glad everyone is throwing out these opinions because that's exactly what I represent, I love the unisex name, Okay. It's funny because I was telling someone last night, I was like, I don't feel like a Valentina or like a Rebecca or like I don't feel like that, like I do feel obviously more female than I do male, and that's why I will be going through my aesthetic changes. But there's always going to be that little portion for me, and I'm speaking only from my experience, that there is a bit of neutrality there, just a tiny bit, that, that just makes me, and I have such a hard time with labels, and I've already spoken about this with a professional, and, he understands what I'm trying to say, so that's why I chose the name Avery for myself, I love that name. I thought it was a beautiful name.
It is a beautiful name.
And I attribute it more to female myself, and I had a friend who had asked me for baby names for his daughter, and I had mentioned Avery to him, and this was a few months ago. And then I had reached out to him when I was telling people and I was coming out, and I said, hey, are you still planning on using that name? I said, no.
It's my name.
And I was like, and he's like, oh, why? Are you planning on having children? I was like, no, it's for me. I was like, yeah.
That's great.
It's for me.
That's great.
And he was like, he actually lives in Istanbul, so he's like, I'm going to have to call you later because I want to hear this coming from you.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I love that name and everything that it,
So some people say it's me, or whatever. Whatever.
No, for me it just represents equal parts. Okay. I was being silly there.
No. Okay. Equal parts.
I was joking. Yeah, exactly.